John 9:17. They say unto the blind man again, what sayest thou of him that he has opened thine eyes? That blind man said, he is a prophet. Indeed, how did Jesus himself describe himself? Listen carefully. Nevertheless, Jesus must walk today, and Jesus must walk tomorrow, and the day following Jesus must walk. For it cannot be that a prophet perish out of Jerusalem. This is what Jesus said. And in Matthew 13:57, Mark 6:4, Luke 4:24, John 4:43, it says, and they were offended in him, but Jesus said unto them, a prophet is not without honor except in his own country and in his own house. So Jesus establishes for us, and those who witness him establishes for us, that he was what? A prophet. And Jesus said concerning his miracles, when he was asked, how dost thou do such miracles? He said, I can of my own self do nothing, but whatsoever I'm commanded to do by the one that is on high, that is what I do. Jesus Christ called himself the Son of Man. 72 times he called himself the Son of Man. And when Jesus Christ referred to God as the Father, he did so just as God referred to Isaiah as his son, as Abraham as his son, as David as his son, in the figurative sense. Because the Son of God here meant figuratively one that God loves, not one that God gave birth to. And if Jesus ever said that he was exclusively the Son of God, then he would not have said, our Father who art in heaven. Now Jesus had his own challenges from the Bani Israel. Who were they called? They were called the Sadducees and the Pharisees. These were the learned people, the priests, who were using the religion to make money, who were gambling in the temple, who were forcing the people to pay them to do religious subscriptions. They were the corrupt people that he said, you call God your father, but your father is none other than the devil himself. And Jesus went inside the temple, that man of love, that man of peace, that man from Nazareth. He went inside the temple and he grabbed a stick and he beat them across their backs and chased them out of the temple. Jesus went to war. And it was those adversaries who plotted, who schemed, who conspired to try to trick him to say things so they could prosecute him. And they went to Pontius Pilate and they said to Pontius Pilate, this man Jesus is a troublemaker. Just probably like some of you say, this guy Khalid, he's a troublemaker. This man Jesus, he's starting trouble. He's healing people. He's brainwashing people. He's turning people away from us. He's calling himself the Son of God, and that is a blasphemy. He's calling himself a king along with Herod. He's calling himself a king along with Caesar. He's saying that he's the king of the Jews. He says that he is the Son of God. Both of them are blasphemies. They went to Pontius Pilate and said, you should arrest him. Just like somebody might drop a dime on me and say, you should arrest him. That's always what happens to people who want to uncover the truth. Somebody want to drop a dime on them. And so Jesus Christ had his adversaries. And when Pontius Pilate, under the obligation of those wealthy, powerful Pharisees and Sadducees, just like George Bush and Tony Blair, under the influence of those powerful Pharisees and Sadducees, they feel the obligation to follow up on that phone call. And so they arrested Jesus. And they brought Jesus in front of Pontius Pilate on those charges. And what did Pontius Pilate do? He asked him directly, what do you say about the charge that you call yourself King of the Jews? Jesus Christ looked at him and said, you say I'm the King of the Jews. And then Pontius Pilate said, and what do you say about the charge that you call yourself the Son of God? And Jesus Christ looked at him and said, you say that I'm the Son of God. And Pontius Pilate understood his answer to be a refutation of the charge, a denial of the charge. And what did Pontius Pilate do? He said to those Sadducees and Pharisees, I find no guilt in that man. And they said, if you find him not guilty, thou art not a friend of Caesar. So Pontius Pilate said, I wash my hands of this affair. You prosecute him according to your own law. So Pontius Pilate understood that Jesus denied the two charges. And therefore you and I should understand that Jesus Christ denied the two charges. Next, we want to examine the words of Jesus Christ himself. Just listen to this. The words of Jesus Christ himself. First of all, let us say this to you. The five Gospels is a 550-page book containing translations of the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. 550 pages of four people who we don't know what their last names were. Matthew who? Mark who? Luke who? And John who? Secondly, 82% of those 550 pages, 82%, they are not the words of Jesus Christ at all. Khalid didn't say that. Christian scholars of 364 denominations, they said that 82% of the 550 pages of the Gospels, they are not the words of Jesus Christ at all. And the way they have determined that and showed that to you and I is that in the New Testament, they have done something called the Red Letter Bible. How many of you have seen the Red Letter Bibles? Be honest. Those are the Bibles where whatever Jesus said himself is in red letters. How many of you have seen that Bible?